I'm going to start with a story you've probably heard a lot of. You get a budget mower that looks like a bargain, you roll it out for the first weekend, and by the time you're done you're sweating more than you expected, the grass is still patchy, and you're already wishing you'd spent a little more. That regret is what makes me pause before I click Add to Cart on any lawn care tool. The Husqvarna Xcite Z375, with its 26 horsepower co-engine and a solid 60-inch steel deck, feels like the kind of purchase that could actually protect you from that disappointment. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What makes the Z375 different from the cheap, entry-level push mowers you see advertised at discount stores is not just the number on the spec sheet. It's the way that power and cutting width translate into actual time spent on the lawn, and whether the machine can handle the mix of grass types, slopes, and debris that most suburban yards throw at you. I spent a solid Saturday taking this mower out on a 2-acre property that has a mix of cool-season ryegrass, a few patches of tougher fescue, and a sloping backyard that drops about 8 feet. That's the kind of real-world scenario most reviews gloss over, and it tells us a lot about who should consider this machine. First off, the 26 horsepower Kohler 747 cubic centimeters V-twin engine is a step up from the 15-20 horsepower units you see on many push or self-propelled mowers in the $300–$500 range. In practice, that extra power means the mower maintains a steady RPM even when you're cutting through thick, damp grass or tossing a few sticks into the pile. On my test day, the mower never bogged down, even when I deliberately slowed down to a crawl on a particularly dense patch. The engine's sound is deeper and more consistent than the high-pitched whine you hear on cheaper models, which is a subtle but noticeable sign that the engine isn't straining. The 60-inch, 3-blade fabricated steel deck is another area where the Xcite earns its stripes. A larger deck obviously covers more ground per pass, but the real benefit comes from the way the 3 blades are spaced. The design helps to lift the grass before it hits the blade, reducing the chance of clumping and leaving a cleaner finish. In my yard, I could see a clear line where each pass ended, and there were barely any streaks or mist strips. On a sloping section, the deck's weight thanks to the solid steel kept it from tilting sideways, which is a common problem when you try to push a lighter, aluminum deck up a hill. The trade-off is that the mower is a bit heavier to maneuver, especially if you have to get it up onto a curb or lift it for transport. You'll need at least one strong set of arms or a small ramp to get it onto a trailer. One practical strength that shows up in everyday use is the mower's self-propulsion system. It's not a push-only machine, but it also isn't a full-blown riding mower. The drive lever gives you enough torque to climb moderate hills without you having to push, which is a huge time saver on that 8-foot drop I mentioned earlier. The only nuance is that the system isn't variable speed, you get a single forward setting and a reverse. If you're used to fine-tuning your speed for different grass heights, you might feel a little constrained, but most residential users will find the single setting plenty. Now let's talk about who this is for. If you own a yard larger than a 1/4 acre, or you have a mix of grass and occasional weeds, you'll likely appreciate the combination of power and deck width. The X375 shines for homeowners who want to cut the lawn in under an hour rather than spending the whole weekend wrestling a smaller mower. It also makes sense for people who have moderate slopes up to about 15 degrees because the engine's torque and the steel deck's grip keep the mower stable. On the other hand, if your property is a tiny patch of lawn, or you only need to maintain a flat, well-kept yard, the added weight and size might feel like overkill. In those cases, a lighter self-propelled mower could be more maneuverable and cheaper. A hidden trade-off appears when you consider maintenance. The Kohler V-twin is a robust engine, but it requires regular oil changes, spark plug checks, and occasional filter cleaning tasks you don't think about with a simple electric cutter. That's not a flaw of the mower itself, just a reminder that stepping up in horsepower brings higher upkeep expectations. If you're comfortable with a basic garage toolkit, and willing to spend a little time every season on engine care, the maintenance burden is manageable. If you'd rather set it and forget it, the extra work might be a deterrent. Another subtle weakness is storage. The 60-inch deck stretches out to nearly 5 feet wide, so you'll need a garage or shed that can accommodate that footprint, or you'll have